Hello and welcome into another edition of State of the Sun Devils alongside Damon Allred and Jesse Morrison. I'm Jeremy Schnell. A 28-23 victory for Arizona State, the biggest victory in over 10 years here in Tempe. What a game it was. Obviously the ending was absolutely crazy, but let's just talk about what this win means for ASU moving forward. They now control their own destiny to go to the Big 12 championship game, Damon.
Yeah, complete control of their own destiny. All they got to do is beat Arizona next week. And, you know, it's a tough rivalry game. Every time a rivalry game comes up, you throw out the records, as you know. But, you know, I think ASU will have a lot of motivation, not only from the Big 12 championship hopes that they have, but as well as U of A smacked them last year. And so I'm sure Dillingham, Scadaboo, all the people that were around for that last year are going to be ready to put it to bed with this next game, as they've done with quite a few games this year already.
Obviously, a big thank you to Kansas for beating Colorado and BYU last week. So now ASU can control their own destiny going into the final week of the season. Jesse, a fantastic crowd here today. The atmosphere was electric. A lot of BYU fans. Great job by the BYU fans coming out in support, but the ASU fans showed out in full support and absolutely did an incredible job supporting this team today and really propelled them to a fantastic start at this game in the first half.
Yeah, they started great. ASU fans were great today. Yes, there were a lot of BYU fans here, but we know that the East Valley has a lot of BYU fans, but the student section for ASU was great. They stayed. This is the most students I've seen stay for a game. It was the entire student section stayed. I didn't see anybody really leave. So that was awesome to see. And then, yeah, the rest of the stadium was, as they said, sold out.
Yeah, a great crowd. The end of the game was incredibly crazy. Let's talk about first the interception by Javen Robinson. That sealed, we thought was going to be the sealer of the game. I'm going to take you through my vantage point of that. I have a clip of it as well. I think what Retzlaff was doing, he thought it was going to be a curl, and it ended up his receiver ran a slant. Robinson was right there waiting for the ball, picked it, and then you see running down the sideline, you can see Kenny Dillingham saying, "Go down." I honestly think that it probably would have been better in hindsight for him to score in that position.
Definitely would have been better for him to score in that position because of everything that transpired after that, with the whole rushing the field situation and then having to take everybody off the field. And, you know, they're putting 1 second on the clock. If that hadn't happened, there would have been, you know, if Javen Robinson had scored, I will say, BYU would have just gotten the ball back and would have just kind of been trying to desperately win this game, maybe score and get an onside kick. That would have been really the only option. But yeah, Retzlaff, to his credit, went down there and made a nice play.
Speaking of onside kicks, we'll get back to that later. But yeah, a fantastic win for Arizona State. Let's get into Cam Scadaboo because he was really the straw that stirred the drink today for ASU. Let's get to the stats. Sorry. He had 3 touchdowns on the day.
All in the first half.
147 yards. Thank you, Jesse. 148 yards, it says. 147 net yards. Thank you. 147 yards and 3 touchdowns. An autograph signed to YouTuber AJ Green, not the wide receiver AJ Green, the YouTuber AJ Green, which was
a premeditated autograph signing.
Yes,
Cam Scadaboo talked about.
Which ended up being a 15-yard penalty, but we won't get into that. Cam Scadaboo was great today. Could have used a little bit more of him in the second half to try and ice this game away, but obviously he's probably tired from a lot of the carries that he was getting in this game. What did you see from his performance today, Damon?
Really just a guy who looked like he was in total control of the run game. And, you know, we've talked about Sam being a guy who over the last few weeks is in total control of the passing game and the offense in general. But I think Cam Scadaboo today, I mean, just absolutely dominant in the run game. The way he continues to bulldoze over people, I mean, on that first drive especially, he rips off that 16-yard chunk to start off the drive, and then from then it's just short yard, moving the ball down the field. He gets the first down on 1st and goal at the 3-yard line, and you can see him on the ground. He's going, like, doing the first down thing. You know, he was just totally in his bag today.
I love that. In his bag, huh?
Cam was great today. this is exactly what we talked about in the pregame show, is that ASU really needed to run the ball because BYU, not a great rush defense, and we saw that in the first half. Cam just carved up that defense. He was having his way with that defense, and ASU stuck to the game plan, which I really liked, which they needed to run the ball in this game. They needed a big game from Cam Scadaboo, and they got it. They wouldn't have won this game without him.
And with Cam having that good of a game, it really opened up the play action and the passing game. Jordan Tyson with 9 catches, 125 yards, and obviously Guillory's touchdown down the far side or the near sideline. He had that one catch for 61 yards in that touchdown. So it really opened up the passing game. Levitt didn't have his best performance, but again, it was enough to get ASU the victory.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see Guillory get that big moment after like what he's had to go through, not only this season with the hamstring injury that he's dealt with, kept him out of some games, but like going back to last season, the tough year that he had, being a part of a 3-9 ASU team, and even before that at Idaho State, where he was before his transfer to ASU, he mentioned in the post-game press conference that when he played BYU at Idaho State, they beat them like 70-something to 7, something crazy like that. And so
that's a really good score. I wonder who's done that before. I wouldn't have been ASU against Arizona or anything.
Yeah, there's no 70-7 lore or anything. But Guillory just having that big moment, it was really cool to see. Tyson obviously has been doing this week after week at this point, so it's really good to see both of them going at the same time.
What's the stat you gave me about Tyson leading the country in the past 6 games?
Past 6 games, Tyson is leading the country in receiving yards. Just totally amazing performance by him in this back half of the season. Couldn't quite pass Travis Hunter for the lead in Big 12 receiving touchdowns this season. Hunter had a couple tonight. They were tied going into the night. But you live and you learn.
Well, if he has 3 next week and Hunter has 0,
Exactly.
There's still a chance. We saw Cam Scadaboo had 3 touchdowns today.
There you go, a hat trick.
I just wanted to mention, I know they only combined for 2 catches, but as Damon talked about, it was great to see Xavier Guillory have that play. And then also Melquan Stovall had a big 25-yard catch. We haven't seen both of those guys do that much this year, and it was nice to just see them contribute in some way, because it can't just be Shaman, it can't just be Jordan Tyson. And Shaman didn't have his best game. He dropped a touchdown, and he had another play that looked like a drop from my vantage point. They need other players, or else one of these really good teams is just going to lock down Jordan Tyson, if they get to the playoff or something like that. So I think that it was really nice to see other guys have a great, not great games, but just like get involved in big moments.
Damon's very excited about something.
You mentioned teams that could deal with Tyson a little better than some of these past teams have. I think next week Arizona is going to be a really tough test for Tyson because, yes, Arizona has not had the season that they've wanted to, but Takario Davis is an incredible cornerback that Arizona has, and he presents such a tough situation just because of the size that he presents as well. I mean, dude looks like he could be like a small forward in the NBA. He's massive. And so you're honestly going into that matchup, maybe eyeing that one-on-one matchup as the biggest one in the game.
In the second half, let's talk about just what kind of went wrong for ASU. It was really the pass defense. It looked like BYU could get whatever they wanted on offense in terms of the passing game. A couple incomplete passes here and there, some end zone shots that were just flat out dropped by the BYU receivers. But in terms of just being able to work the ball down the field, they didn't punt at all in the second half.
BYU 8 on offense in the passing game in the second half. It was very easy for BYU to have success through the air. It seemed like they were completing everything, and then ASU caught a break with that interception at the end. Otherwise, I think ASU was going to they were going to be scored on there. Before that interception, I was like, do you let them score? Because they were just having so much success through the air that ASU, maybe needed to just let them score and then get the ball back with 50 seconds, try to win the game. But luckily the interception happened and the rest was history. But yeah, I really thought that ASU showed that they can be thrown on in this game.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say about the secondary? They had a little bit of a rough go of it today. You had Shamari Simmons and that holding call on one of those last drives, which I didn't really agree with that holding call. But we had some other flags earlier on the pass interference on Abney, one on Alfred as well. You're hoping that they can have a better week, especially when you got Teteroa McMillan coming up on the other side of next week. But yeah, just maybe the worst game for the DBs this season, and to still come away with a win in a really tight matchup speaks to the team.
All right, let's get to the onside kick. So, they don't trust their kicker to kick field goals. But, man, can he hit a BYU player in the back.
So what Kenny said was they actually called a squib kick here. But they called it a squib kick, but we're okay if it hit a BYU defender and became an onside kick.
He called it low risk, high reward.
Low risk, high reward is what Damon said.
So, yeah, that's what happened, and ASU ended up getting the onside kick, which was a squib kick, and that worked out for them because they went and scored.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Let's get into the kicking game now. Obviously, we did not see Parker Lewis attempt a field goal today. He only did extra points. There were opportunities where they were on the 2-yard line, where they were on the 11-yard line, and then the final possession where they could have gone up by 8, they just decided to go backwards and try to run out the clock. But do you think that that's a recipe for disaster going forward, Damon? I was talking to Jesse before this, and I'm going to bring you into my thought process. Let's face it. If ASU wins out, and I might eat my words here. If they face Texas, Georgia, Alabama's losing right now to Oklahoma, but if they face any of those teams, it's going to come down to the margins. And this season is most likely going to end on an opportunity for ASU to have to kick a field goal. And if they don't trust their kicker, that is possibly how this season will end.
So, I know the portal window opens kind of in December. Is that legal? Can they pick up a kicker?
It is not legal.
That was a joke.
Damon, your thoughts on just the decision making in the second half to not kick the 3 field goals?
Yeah, so first and foremost, Kenny came out and said it in his post-game press conference. If it is a 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 4th down and that short, he's going every time. Because if you can't get a 4th and short like that consistently, then you're not a good football team, as in his words. And so I think in some of the situations that happened today that were 4th and 1, 4th and 2, I think it makes sense why he didn't go on those situations. But obviously if it's in the red zone and they're 4th and 7, 4th and 8, I think then we'd see a field goal try from Parker Lewis. I think Parker has we've talked about it. He has the leg to be even further out, but it's the accuracy that has plagued him. And in practice as well, a lot of the kicks that he has in practice, just aren't what you want out of field goal tries. So I think as far as the field goal aspect, as long as ASU's offense is hitting the way they expect to, I think it's going to be in fine position. It's when, like you mentioned, those better teams start coming up, and it's a lot harder to move the ball down the field. I mean, yeah, you're hoping that Parker Lewis can start to shore these things up.
Let's talk about the field storm now. What a weird situation that happened there. I think the clock ran out.
I do too.
I really think the clock ran out. I don't care how many stupid freeze frames they show me on ESPN. Give me a break. And they called that pass at the end incomplete, which is really weird because I thought he caught it. I haven't seen an angle that says that he didn't catch it. Either way, Jesse, you have some thoughts.
I'm less pro field storming than I used to be. I used to be like, yeah, field storming, it's awesome. Court storming, it's awesome. But today kind of changed my mind being on the field. and just having that happen, and just the whole, like, there was a big crowd in front of us. It was hard to see the game. That was weird. It was just a weird situation, but, like, people got to be aware of their surroundings too. Like, you got to make sure that you're paying attention to, like, the scoreboards that are saying the play is under review. Like, the thing that bothered me was that people were coming onto the field after that had been said. And so people just got to pay attention. Like, I'm fine with it as long as people are, like, aware of the situation in the game and what's going on.
Yeah, I was also down there on the field trying to watch that last play. I cannot tell you whether it was complete or not because I had zero vantage point at it. I just heard crowd noises and then I knew what had happened. And, you know, obviously a very tough situation when all that happens. You know, college students are not the most prone to listen to directions immediately and things like that.
Yeah, but it wasn't just college students. Like, it was everyone. Like, we were on the north side and people were pouring over. So that was just pay attention. It's fine. Like, field stormings are fun. You just got to make sure the game is 100% over.
Not only does ASU control their own destiny to get to the Big 12 championship game, they control their own destiny to win the national championship, guys. So, like, let's just think about that. Think about where
totally true.
Like, think about where this team was last year and the year before, and where they are now. It's incredible what Kenny Dillingham has done. The amount of support that he's getting from Graham Rossini and Dr. Michael Crow is fantastic. From the NIL support, from everything along those lines, this team is pretty special. And it's going to be awesome to see how they do next week against Arizona.
Just want to temper everyone's expectations. If they don't win the national championship, that's fine. It's already been a super successful season. So I just want everyone to take a deep breath.
Win the Natty.
Yeah, okay,
Natty
Jerry.
or bust.
Okay, I don't think that ASU fans should have that opinion at this point. It's been a really fun and exciting and successful season. So I think that right now everything is just kind of icing on the cake every time they do something better.
Let's be honest here. The past few weeks have been gravy on this season. Like, when Arizona State hit bowl eligibility, that in itself was making it a successful season. But if you can get a whole bunch of gravy, I think you'll take every ounce of gravy you can get, you know?
Absolutely. So, Jesse, BYU fan? What's with the blue shirt?
Oh, come on. Okay, I wore a blue shirt because I'm going to be completely honest here. So my mother says that my blue eyes look good with my blue
my mom
shirt.
says I'm a good singer. Come on, it's enough. That's going to do it for this edition of State of the Sun Devils. Thank you so much for listening and watching. You can find us on all forms of social media. At AZ Sports Devils is where you can find us. What, Jesse?
Volleyball won the Big 12 regular season title. They clinched that during the game. Just wanted to throw that out there. And then a big win. I don't know what's going on right now in the hockey game, but a big win over number 1 Denver yesterday. Just wanted to throw those two things out there around Sun Devil Athletics.
Yes, you can follow us on all forms of social media. At AZ Sports Devils is where you can find us. You can find all of Damon's articles from today. He did a fantastic job on ArizonaSports.com and the Arizona Sports app. For Jesse Morrison and Damon Allred, I'm Jeremy Schnell. We'll talk to you next week.